What's going on, everybody? Welcome to The Shift. It is Francisco Rojas. So I've heard all this talk recently about the Astros. They win their second championship, second ever franchise championship, second in 5-6 years since 2017 when they won their first one. And all the talk has been, I've seen way too much talk about, oh, they're a dynasty now. Are they a dynasty? Everyone's asking the question, are they a dynasty? We got to relax with that. They are not a dynasty. They're not a dynasty, okay? They're an American League dynasty. And before I get into why they aren't a regular dynasty, people are throwing around that term too loosely. Before I get into that, go make sure you check out my interview with Matt Musico. Great baseball expert, great writer for Elite Sports NY. We talked about what the Mets are doing this offseason, as well as some of the big names around baseball, like Trey Turner, Aaron Judge, DeGrom, some of the other shortstops like Bogarts and Swanson. We talked about a lot of hot stove content. So before I get to the rest of this, just make sure that link is going to be in the description. Go check that out. That will be to the link in the description. Great interview, great stuff from Matt. You'll really enjoy that. So, the Houston Astros, again, not a dynasty. They are not like a dynasty, man, like it is for teams like the Patriots, right? I know I'm going off into other sports which I'm gonna get to in a second. The Patriots from 01 to 04, and honestly from like 01 to 2018 when they had their second dynasty pretty much, when they won 3 more with Brady. I mean, who else? Like the late 90s Yankees sticking to baseball. The early 2010s Blackhawks when they won like 3 cups in like 6 years. Like, very historic stuff there. 3 championships, and don't get me wrong, 2 championships in 5 years, and to do what the Astros have done, making what, 4 AL pennants since 2017 and winning 2 World Series, extremely hard to do. And they were pretty close. Like last year against the Braves, got to Game 6, and against the Nats, Game 7. I mean, if you make somebody maybe AJ Hinch makes the right moves in that Game 7, and maybe the Astros have won, but, you know, Nationals are a team of destiny. Don't want to get too off on track there. But you get what I'm saying. Like, I just, and you could argue that one of these Astros championships is tainted. Some people don't even consider that a championship, right? So maybe they have won in some people's eyes. Look, I felt that way like a year and a half ago when it first came out, but look, I've lightened up a little bit when it comes to that. It's been like 2 years now, which is crazy. I've lightened up on that. Like, I do consider them having 2 championships, but I understand people's viewpoint if they feel otherwise. But this whole thing is just insane. Like, let's chill on like the dynasty talk. And people are talking about, oh yeah, they're a dynasty. They're a dynasty. 2 championships in 6 years is a dynasty to you? Like, okay, so who else has won 2 championships? The Red Sox in the mid-2000s, they won 04 and 07? No, they weren't a dynasty. They won 04, 07, and 2013, and they were close. Don't get me wrong, they were close. And 3 championships in 10 years is amazing, but not a dynasty. That term is reserved for teams like, look, even, this is a controversial one. I've heard people go back and forth from this one, but my stance is the San Francisco Giants in the early 2010s, 3 championships in 5 years, dynasty. Dynasty. I don't care that in 2011, and which years was it? 2011 and 2013, right? They missed the playoffs. I don't care. They won a championship in 10, 12, and 14. 3 in 5 years, that is extremely, that's extremely tough is like an understatement. It's extremely hard to do, okay? The Giants, the 2010s, the late 90s Yankees, they won, what, 4 in 5 years? Oh, I mean, that's absurd. I mean, the 20s Yankees, they're the 21 to 28, made 6 World Series, winning 3. They're a dynasty. I know I'm going back here, but I'm just trying to give examples. Early 1910 Philadelphia A's, they won 3 in 5 years. They made 4 World Series. You know, the Oakland A's, the 70s, won 3 World Series in 5 years. Dynasty. Had 5 ALCS appearances to go along with that. And I feel like the Astros are closer to the teams like the late 20s, early 30s A's. I know I keep going back here, but I'm just trying to give examples. They won 2 and 3 years, okay? But that's all. 1, 2, and 3 years. Mid-70s Reds, the big red machines teams. 2 championships in 75 and 76. They're closer to teams like that. And those are some of the best teams ever. But that big red machine time period, they weren't a dynasty because they didn't win 3. You got to win 3 in some type of like 7 to 8 year window. Again, you can't be the Red Sox of like 2007 to 04, 07, and 13. That gap from like 07 to 13, too much there. There was years where they didn't make the playoffs. There were like 3 years, and there was 1 year where they won like 69 games. Like that just doesn't classify to me as a dynasty. So for the Astros to be a dynasty, they got to win another one here in the next, like, I want to say, like, couple of years. You know, you got to win one, like, you know, next year or 2024. And I mean, what they've done, you know, and I'm talking about this span from like 17 to now. And they're a little different because we're not seeing, you know, this type of, like, you know, you had the core of Bregman, you had the core of Gurriel, which are still there. Correa, which, you know, is Jeremy Pena now. And now it's Kyle Tucker. Like, there were guys earlier on from that 2017 team, the 2019 team, that are no longer there anymore. Like, Will Harris was there. Trying to think, other pitchers, like Greinke's no longer there. Some of their homegrown players that just aren't there anymore from the early, you know, mid 2015s. Like, they aren't there anymore. But they're so good at developing talent. They're just so good at it that they've developed players like Tucker and Pena and, my gosh, Christian Javier and Framber Valdez. I mean, it's incredible what they're doing. Like, they are the standard. Like, maybe the Dodgers are for the regular season, but the Astros, as far as regular season and playoffs, they are the standard. So to me, like, again, this whole thing about the Astros being a dynasty, it's just being thrown around way, to me, way too loosely. Just, it's like, oh yeah, they're a dynasty. They're a dynasty. Really? When they've won 2 championships since 2017, and you could argue that one of those shouldn't even count. Again, you can argue that is what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I feel like it counts at this point. I've kind of lightened up on it. But again, early 2000s Lakers. Sorry, I had this in front of me. I'm looking down. Early 2000s Lakers. We all remember those. From 2000 to 2002, 3 straight titles. Plus, they got back to another finals a couple years later in 2004 and lost to the Pistons. And that's when their dynasty ended. But again, like, that dynasty ended and they rebuilt around Kobe, and like, this Astros team, this Astros franchise is different because, and that's an interesting conversation. That's an interesting conversation. Like, could the Astros be maybe changing the way we're talking about dynasties and stuff? Like, for sure, American League dynasty at this point, dude. 4 American League pennants in 6 years, like 100%, they are American League dynasty. It's incredible what they're doing as far as that. What they're doing as a franchise is amazing. But dynasty in general, no, we're not doing that. That's all I kind of wanted to, you know, get at with this. But I want to hear from you. What do you think? Look, I value everybody's opinion. You're allowed to have your own opinion. I want to know. I feel very strongly that they are not a dynasty, but I want to hear from you. What do you think? What's your opinion? Do you feel like the Astros are a dynasty at this point? Are they American League dynasty? Are they a dynasty? And maybe you have your own criteria, because I have my own criteria. It's really like 3 in like a 5 to 7 year window. Maybe it's different with, you know, every time period or span for a franchise is different because of playoff appearances and stuff like that. So I want to hear from you. What's your criteria? You tell me in the comments. What's your criteria for a dynasty? How many championships? How many playoff appearances? Does that matter to you? What matters to you when we're talking about a dynasty? Maybe mention some Major League Baseball dynasties that we haven't talked, or that I didn't mention, or that you think aren't mentioned. Do you think the big red machine is a dynasty? I want to hear from you. You let me know. Let me know on Twitter at Rojas_media_. Let me know, of course, in the comments here under, you know, on the video. Make sure you share the video. I want everybody's opinion on this. I want to know everybody's opinion. You let me know. And look, some more hot stove discussions coming. Definitely going to try to do a couple of big names on the market that we haven't got, that I didn't get to with Matt. Definitely interested to see where some of these players are going this year, man. So it's Francisco. It's The Shift. See you guys next time.